right.
No, I know.
Cut out regular board, because this is a full board too.
This meeting of the Lapeer County Board of Commissioners will please come to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Hagedon,
Here.
Commissioner Kemp,
Here.
Commissioner Nisely,
Here.
Commissioner McMahon,
Here.
Commissioner Wise,
Here.
Commissioner Zender,
Here.
Chairman Howell.
Present. Our opening prayer will be offered by Commissioner Hagedon, and if Commissioner Kemp would offer the pledge of allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to meet today. I pray that you be with everybody in this room, everybody in the state, in this country, and on your beautiful earth. I pray that you be with the 7 of us as we do the people's business. I pray for discernment, and I thank you, Lord, for your blessings upon us, and I pray that you be with our troops. And in your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today's agenda, in speaking with the county administrator, there is some urgency in getting the sheriff's contracts moved along. So I'm going to ask that we include on today's agenda consideration of the sheriff's contracts for the committee of the whole to be acted upon next week at our regular board meeting. Commissioner,
I'd also like to add to, I think it'd be under number 8, to make a motion to, or discussion and motion about auditing the prosecutor's office.
so you want to add prosecutor's office to the agenda?
Yep.
Okay. Are there any other proposed additions to the agenda?
I'll move it with those additions. Support.
Okay, moved and supported, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. We have before you also the October 9th minutes of the committee of the whole.
I'll move them.
Support.
Moved and supported approval of the minutes, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. As always, we are distributing the travel requests, grant applications, and budget amendments in folders along the table for the commissioners to take a look at during the course of the meeting. Do we have any department heads or elected officials that wish to address the commission this morning? Jim Henry, our Health Department Director.
Good morning, Commissioner. Great to see you all again. I just want to give a couple quick updates about some of the things we're doing at the Health Department and a quick introduction. Our senior programs nurse, the position's been vacant for a few months now, and we have a new nurse named Lisa Murray, and she started this week. She started Monday. Comes with a lot of experience, and that there's so much that the program depends on that position because they do all the assessments and they basically assign all of the work that our aides do in the community. So it's a very important position that we're very fortunate to fill. Some of the other things that we have going on right now, we built the soil and set position. So we're now able to work with the drain commissioner's office on those inspections. And part of that is we'll be doing their inspections along with ours, and we'll be able to get reimbursed by the drain commissioner's office. So it's a win-win for us, and that's really, we offered the position to a candidate. We did a very thorough search, and we have a really good candidate. One of the other things that we're doing right now is the fetch software. We're actually going to be implementing that. That's that interactive mapping software that we approved recently, and that's pretty exciting stuff. So we're going to switch from our old software to this, and I'll be able to open that up to the public at some time here in the relatively near future once it's implemented. One of the things that we have going on at the senior center today, across the street, we have it's a scam prevention training for our seniors. It's very, because a lot of the scams, they target our seniors. And so this is designed for basically education on how our seniors can identify what those scams are. Also, this afternoon at the senior center is an Alzheimer's caregiver training. So it's for basically family members, or it doesn't have to be family members, but people that are taking care of Alzheimer's patients. It basically could give them some education on how to handle those folks with that disease. And the other thing that I wanted to give a quick update on is our jail nurse is starting on the 24th of November. So with all that, thank you for all your support. And I did bring our leadership team here today. We have Tony, Nathan. Tony's our nursing director, Nathan our environmental health director, and Andrea, the senior programs director. So we have a few requests. So when we're called up, we'll address those. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you for the introductions, and welcome to the new employee. We appreciate you being here. Any other elected officials or department heads? Yes, County Clerk.
Good morning. Sheriff said I could go first, so I'm going first. I'm gonna keep myself, I made a list, not too much of your time. I wanted first to say that I placed our newest edition of the county directory at your place settings there. I've had a number of staffing issues and then printing issues, so it's delayed this year, but it's finally ready for the rollout. So your copy's there, and also I brought extras that are on the back table. If any of our citizens that are here would like to pick up a copy, it is for their use, and we'll be ready to roll out another one in a couple of years. So thanks for your patience in getting that. Also, I passed out the unofficial election results from last Tuesday's election. It feels like it was a lot longer ago than history, but anyway, those are the unofficial results. They will not change with the official canvass, which the canvassers are coming in today. Everything on the unofficial sheet remains unchanged. So once the canvassers come in and do their final signing, that will be labeled as official and it will be placed on the website. And I wanted to also update you about the Board of Canvass members. At your last meeting, it was time to fill a vacancy on the Board of Canvass. It's just a normal thing. Terms expire, they overlap, etc. And your board had, by a vote, chosen Mrs. Beckwith to fill that position. And I did notify her, congratulate her via email, and she responded that her circumstances had changed and she had to decline the appointment. So that effectively left a vacancy effective November 1st, and the guidance on what happens then with the vacancy comes back to me, to the county clerk. So I am to reach out to that party chair to receive 3 names and then figure out who is, through what their credentials, who should be filling that vacancy. So I did reach out to the party chair, and he indicated that I was to use the 2 remaining names that your board had to consider last week. So I called Mr. Hamilton, and he indicated that his circumstances had changed and he could not even be considered for the position. Then I called Mr. DeAngelis. He was available. He, by the way, is the one who had been serving in a partial term that just expired. So I am happy to work with whomever is going to be on the board of canvass. So Mr. DeAngelis was able to attend the canvass last Wednesday at 1 p.m., which was covering the Tuesday election. But I did want to update you on the record because it was a change from what happened at the meeting. So, any questions?
We appreciate that. Canvassing selection process is somewhat complicated and different than every other appointment we make, so we appreciate you resolving it and the decision is made.
All right, thank you so much.
So apparently the sheriff wants to say something to the board this morning.
Good morning, thank you.
You're always wise if you defer to the clerk.
Just really one thing prior to, we got an exciting time of 2 family members that will be sworn in today to the department. So, but I did want to touch on the tragedy from last week. I won't get into details on that, obviously most of you already know. But
anytime something like that happens in any community, it's heartbreaking. But with a community like ours, it's so tight, and obviously with the Elmont area, this is something that just shatters a community. But it's also, seeing Lapeer County the way they normally do, this is also when everybody comes together. So, horrible incident. I did want to touch on one of how the investigation piece, I get asked a lot about why I haven't come out on press conferences, things of that sort. And it's kind of twofold. One, Elmont handled the actual homicide piece of it. Obviously, our deputies were involved in taking the suspect down. Anytime we have an officer-involved shooting, we had our detective bureau involved in the big majority of that apprehension. So what I try to do is, for transparency, is I call on the state police to actually investigate our officer-involved shooting. And that way it shows the transparency, we don't have anything where we're dealing with it, and they've been very, very good to work with. So, one of the things that I just bring to attention, because this is unfortunately something that's gonna affect all of us and our budget, the suspect in this is still in the hospital. Talking to McLaren and to Dr. Sharma, who's our doctor for the county. It's looking like there's probably a good chance he's gonna be in the hospital for probably about a month. What does that do for us? We have 2 deputies 24/7 that are monitoring him. So this is not gonna be pretty for budget stuff. If you're looking at, let's say, 30 days, you're talking probably in the area of $30,000 that you're gonna pay him 24/7 to have somebody on there. Unfortunately, it's part of our job. That's when we have a situation like this. Our magistrate was good enough to go a couple days after to arraign him actually in the hospital. Once that arraignment is done, he is the responsibility of Lapeer County. So we'll navigate through that. Hopefully it doesn't, we have him out. But the other piece of that is, like talking to Dr. Sharma, is we don't have the ability to care for somebody in a situation like that in the jail. We are kind of stuck. But I say that because obviously that'll be conversations and bottom lines and stuff when it comes to the budget people. Any questions on any of that or the incident? So, yes, sir.
Commissioner Wise.
How are the deputies doing?
Thank you, thanks for that. They're doing good. You know, this is something that, you know, you get a lot of times, people go through their entire career and never fire their weapon. That's what you hope for. Unfortunately, our job sometimes is unpredictable, and they're doing good. We actually, because we had to wait for Michigan State Police to get, for us to get our reports done and get it to them, which ultimately will get to the prosecutor. Those were all done with the attorneys and the union the other night. Tonight at 5:30, everybody that was involved in the incident, we have Dr. Gardner coming down to do a complete debrief with all of our people. I think I mentioned this before, and I truly appreciate you asking that question, because sometimes that gets lost in the fold of, you know, well, this is their job. Well, they still go home to their families and have to struggle with that. But fortunately, Dr. Gardner's fantastic. He's a police psychologist. He's actually a good friend of mine out of Oakland County. Been around law enforcement for 30-some years. He works with the VA also, and a phenomenal guy. Once we do this tonight, obviously we'll do it in a group setting. He's fantastic with the people that are involved to let them speak and get that off so that they're not struggling with a lot of these things. But after that, with the ones that were involved in it, they have unlimited access to Dr. Gardner on individual basis, family basis, things of that sort. Back in years ago, coming in when you're involved in these, basically it was, hey, you good? And then get back in there. And we see how that turns out for a lot of people. So we really focus on the mental health piece here. You guys have been fantastic. Moses, fantastic of making sure that our people are good. So that will be, this will be an ongoing thing, but they're actually doing very well.
Commissioner Zender.
So with your debrief that you're talking about, is, like, obviously, Elmont was quite involved in that. Will they be part of that? Okay.
Chief Willis has been a godsend to work with through this, the chief at Elmont. We've talked 10 times a day since that day. I was at the scene, obviously our scene, and then his scene also. But yes, us and Elmont were the main ones that Chief and I were setting up, so and that's what we do. We do it as a whole. And I think that's another good question. One of the things that's different, and I told you this before, you know, I come from Genesee County working there. It's not necessarily like this everywhere. Like in that incident there, you needed every agency to be able to deal with this. And Lapeer County, whether it's all the agencies working together, it's flawless when things like this happen. Everyone jumps in and takes care of it, which is great for our public. But we have a very unique relationship, and Almont's definitely one of them. So we make sure they're part of our family also. So we want to make sure they're okay.
And then, isn't there some counselors, I think it's almost like a volunteer type thing or whatever, that, for like the victim's family and stuff?
Yeah, it's twofold, and we had a couple organizations reach out right away when this happened, especially for the workers and stuff like that in Almont. And then obviously we have our victim service unit that stays with the family, works through the family on you know, that first 72 hours of the craziness of it. So we do have multiple resources that we offer.
And is that some ongoing resources for those folks? I mean, especially for, you know,
Yeah.
the family?
It's basically the same thing with our officers is, we allow them those services until they don't need it or move on to other services that they enjoy. So it's not one of those things where it's a one and done and hey, everybody's fixed, because that's not how it works.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Great question.
Any other questions from commissioners? We really appreciate the update.
Absolutely. Now if I can do the fun stuff.
Okay.
So we have 2 deputies that we're hiring into our family. I'll actually bring them and their families up. The first one is Nicholas Bigelow. Nick, come on up. Family, come on up. Obviously, worked at the Sheriff's Department in Genesee for 5 years, so yes, we stole another one. Very good. Just to point that out. And but he was with there for 5 years. Obviously, see multi-generation law enforcement with his dad. The hard part is I worked with his dad, and now I'm swearing in the it'll make me feel real good. So I'm not real excited about that. But fantastic young man, and we're excited to have him. The next one is Justin Shiver. Justin and family, come on up. Justin spent 5 years, he's a veteran in the military, came through the academy, lives in Lapeer, lives in our county here. I told you before, when we did in the wage study in the millage that the public passed, changed the game for us. I mentioned before, we're trying just to sometimes fill spots. It's not how Lapeer County works anymore. We take the best of the best. These 2 young men are exactly that, and we're excited to have them in there. They have been sworn in already. We're gonna do it again, so that they can be pinned, and then their families and pictures, things like that. So if you guys wanna take pictures,
I'll take a picture with our penny.
you're good, okay. So we'll go ahead and have you guys both come up. Raise your right hand, and you can take photos of anything you want, and you can move around. Commissioners love it, so. Okay, repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. Or affirm. That I will support. The Constitution. Of the United States. And the Constitution. Of this state. And I will faithfully. Discharge. The duties of. Deputy Sheriff. In and for. County of Lapeer. State of Michigan. To the best of my ability. Congratulations. Welcome to the family. So as tradition, we like to take whoever wants to do it. We actually use Nick first. Nick, if you want to stand up here. His dad, obviously in law enforcement for many years, will be pinning him. So go ahead and, like I said, move around. Now we move to the other side. This is the hardest part to do. That's why I'm so glad when family members do it.
Kevlar shirts.
All right. Come on up, buddy. In up here. Obviously, you see his beautiful family, and his wife is gonna be the one pinning him. hopefully you were nice to her last night, because it didn't hurt.
Go for blood.
Good job, you guys. Commissioners, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Big job. Welcome to both of these gentlemen to the Lapeer County Law Enforcement family. We're very proud to have you and appreciate it. So we wish you your best.
See you on success for this. You're good. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations, buddy. Congratulations.
Are there any other department heads or elected officials who wish to address the commission this morning? Welcome.
Hi, good morning. I just want to add to it as well is that CMH went out and followed up with the victim's family as well as the hospital and provided them resources and has reached out to the company there in Melmont to provide support. So, I'm coming here today just to give an update. Few months ago in the summer, I came to you guys and talked to you about the procurement process, the competitive bidding that MDHHS was submitting. And with that was the potential threat to privatize the management of Michigan's public health, mental health system, potentially shifting the oversight from the local governed county-based entities to a private for-profit health plans. So the application was posted on the 4th of August, and bidders had until October 13th to submit their applications. After the posting of the application process, 6 CMHs and PHPs, so they were Region 10, Southwest Michigan Behavioral Health, Mid-State, St. Clair, Integrated Services of Kalamazoo, and Saginaw CMH, filed a lawsuit against the state for the competitive bidding process. The hearing for that was on October 9th. And with that, on the 14th, the court actually issued its opinion stating that the court did determine that MDHHS has the authority to shift the competitive procurement method from 10 regions that we currently have, that they can reduce those. And they're looking for the potential of 3. But the court did not issue a final decision based on the fact that the RFP may violate the Michigan laws in assigning the function to the PHPs that belong to the CMHs, and in not funding the CMHs to their full ability to keep their obligations. So Judge Christopher Yates is scheduled to do the next hearing on December 8th because the state is scheduled to select the bidders on December 10th. So there's currently the Community Mental Health Association has submitted a FOIA request to see who has submitted bids. Some of the potential bidders that we've been made aware of, just based on some of the meetings that have occurred, that could be our Blue Cross Blue Shield, Molina Healthcare, CareSource, McLaren, Hygera, Humana. So just to give a few. If anybody has any questions about that. Still an ongoing process of the unknown.
Yeah, that's gonna be a long struggle, as it
Yeah.
turns out.
For sure. So, thank you.
Okay, thanks for the update.
Thank you.
Any other elected officials or department heads who want to speak this morning?
Before we move off the department heads, could I ask Jackie for a clarification on the
Absolutely.
budget amendments? That
Yep.
Could you, I read the explanation on, but I don't really grasp the need. Can you explain that?
So during the budget process, sometimes we determine that we need new line items to break things out better. And that, but since they don't exist when we do the budget, we put them in the closest we can and then move it when the budget actually becomes live. That is essentially what it is.
So are the line items that were zeroed out, are they going to remain, or are they?
No, we will get rid of those.
You'll get rid of
lines.
those, okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Good. Thanks for the clarification. Okay, at this point, do you have something, Courtney?
Really? It's still warm.
This will be on the agenda later in the meeting. as to the Sheriff's Department. Okay, at this point, I want to recognize Mr. Ben Cummings. Ben has applied for a position on the Region 5 Planning and Development Commission. That is the three-county entity, Lapeer, Shiawassee, and Genesee, that coordinates a lot of our grant funds and other activities in the county. As Ben will tell you, he's been running the community collaborative for some time. So, Ben, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chairman Howell, thank you for having me. For those who don't know me yet, my name is Benjamin Cummings. I've been Collaborative Coordinator for Lapeer County's Community Collaborative for 3 years now. I was recruited for this role by County Commissioner Dial Henning. We had worked together on historic auction event at the Lapeer Center building. Together we created a sustainer program and ran other successful fundraiser events together. We did an incubator kitchen project with Quentin Bishop when he was at Lapeer Development Corporation before he became administrator for Lapeer County. Where am I here? So based on our work together, Dial felt my skills and interests would be a perfect fit for this collaborative. Quentin Bishop, Steve Zott, Lauren Emmons, Russ Adams, Karen Southgate, and others, they brought me on board, trained me up, and set me on this path that I am on now. A little bit about the collaborative. So our mission statement is, this is designed to bring together community resources through collaboration, communication, and cooperation to identify concerns, initiate action, organize for impact. This is a group of key community stakeholders. They represent nonprofits, local government, business, human services providers, education, law enforcement, faith-based organizations. So that meeting is on the first Wednesday of the month at 9 a.m. at the EMS building near the roundabout. I hate meetings that should have been email, so I find it very important to bring in high-value presentations. This year we have heard from nonprofits like the Family Literacy Center, Kiwanis Legacy Playground Project, Reach Traverse Place, the Refuge, Child Advocacy Center, easy for me to say, the United Way, Harmony House, and more. We have also heard from agencies like Nancy Moxley's Lapeer County Community Foundation Leaf Savings Program, which is an awesome program. We have heard from county CMH programs like local outreach for suicide survivors. That loss program is a really valuable program. We've heard from Individual Placement Service, Kevin Mount's program. We have heard from Lapeer County Senior Programs, new director Andrew Pomerantz and Health Director Jim Henry, etc. Sarah Whaley came in and taught us 1 month about emergency management services and the next month about search and rescue programs. So this is a great forum to disseminate info and to share and to learn about events and available services in our great county. And there are valuable breakout meetings too, which is another awesome aspect of this, where representatives from various organizations can meet, exchange contact info, and coordinate across departments and agencies. These meetings provide an opportunity for members to receive support from other members to problem solve, discuss specific agency concerns. I see the coordinator role as filling gaps and ending overlaps. The work I do helps to boost the effectiveness of our existing programs, to support our people here in Lapeer County, while at the same time keeping the costs under control for our taxpayers. Lapeer County is close-knit and has a strong history of working together. Progress is not accidental. It is the result of individuals and institutions cooperating, coordinating to bring about positive change in our area. I'm here today because of that Region 5. I've been tapped to fill a vacancy on the Region 5 Planning Commission. Just so you guys know, I plan to use this opportunity to make connections and relationships with leadership across county lines. This will allow us insight into funds and programs we may not otherwise be aware of, and I plan to coordinate with Administrator Sanzo, Chairman Howell, Commissioner Hagedon, who is our county representative on the Collaborative Leadership Board. I am here to help. Thanks so much, everybody. Any questions for me?
Thank you very much, Ben. Does anybody have any questions for?
Not
Mr.
a
Cummings?
question, but a comment. You do run very effective meetings. I really appreciate when a organization emails you, you get us the information immediately. I don't necessarily like how long the email list is, but it shows that you're getting people involved. I know you took the initiative when you first got in there to bring churches back in, to bring different community organizations that kind of fell off during COVID. And it shows in that, it's a mile long, and I'm not, that's not a hyperbole. It is a very long email list that you send out to make sure that our community knows what's going on and the resources available. Thank you for that.
Of course, and thank you for that. And just to address that email again, I apologize, but we are trying to help the busiest people in the county. And in that way, like, they can't always make it to the meeting, so I want to put every action item right at their fingertips. And so that is the reason for the length of the email, because I want all that info to go right to your inboxes, so you can take action on those items that are here to you.
Commissioner Wise has a question.
I just want to mention, I've been to a number of the meetings, and I would advise anybody who can make them should come to them.
Thank you for that.
It's, I go to a lot of meetings, most of them, to be honest with you, you sit there and you listen. I mean, get really good information
Sure.
from the people who put on presentations there. And I really appreciate it. I would recommend anybody who can attend should go, because it's really valuable information.
And just to address that point, this was a funded mandate from the state many years ago, but when that funding ended, our Lapeer County decided this was way too valuable to let slide away, and so they coordinated, and it's the reason I have that I am now. So thank you for that.
Anybody else have a question? I've had occasion to attend a few of your collaborative meetings. What I appreciate about the approach is it's not just government. Those of us in institutions quite often see government programs all the time. You're bringing in private enterprise, nonprofits, religious groups, bring in all community resources, which I think is a really valuable thing. Anyway, thank you for coming in this
Of
morning.
course, thanks you guys.
We are at the first public time, which I think people know is limited to those items specifically on today's agenda. We'll have a second public time later for any other topic. Anything about today's agenda? Welcome.
Good morning. Carol Lynn, Marathon Township. I just had a lot of questions about, it's agenda item number 4, item C, and it's the health department. And it all has to do again with immunization and parents' rights and what they have to do, and there's just a lot of information there. It was an item that we actually paid $1,000 for. Now someone's gonna give it to us for free, U of M, and the word data broker is in there. And I guess we just have a lot of questions as to, again, parents are told they have to jump through a lot of hoops, and I have had to advise parents of their rights. And the information's out there if they don't know where to find it. So I just hope there's a lot of questions on that. And I would even ask that you table it until the next meeting, just to do some questioning of the new broker. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have a comment about an item on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move back to the Sheriff's Department. Request to authorize Academy.
I'll move it.
I'll support.
Sit down.
What a two-sentence explanation, are we ready?
I think we're ready.
Yeah,
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
You win, you're all set.
Good seeing you guys.
Okay, specialty court. This may take a bit more explanation. The mental health court and the drug court. And we have the court administrator here.
Good morning. I'm going to introduce Nicole Hutchinson. She is our new specialty court coordinator, and she has been handling everything with the grants and doing a wonderful job. So if there's something she can't answer, I'll answer it for her.
Okay.
I'll try.
Yes, if you could kind of give us a thumbnail education on courts.
Oh, gosh. So are all of you familiar with the fact that we already had a mental health court and a drug court? Okay. So actually, when we got the award letter this year for the new fiscal year, the drug court is actually now a hybrid DWI drug court, which is closer to a sobriety court, which, from what I've seen so far since the end of March, is something that's much needed for our county. There are a lot of situations with people having issues with DUIs or OUILs, you know, alcohol-related, things like that. But, so, last year, last fiscal year, our mental health court grant, we were awarded $65,969. This year, they awarded us $67,552, so they increased the mental health court grant. And then our drug court grant last year was $30,000. They approved a $13,000 increase at the halfway point. And then this year they awarded us $43,732. So that's $13,732 more than last year. And with that, looking at the numbers that I've been able to pull, our drug court has increased substantially as far as our participants. So that money is much needed for programming, either for incentives, for sanctions, for a number of things, services. I don't know what else you want to know.
When defendants come forward, how do you decide who gets to participate in these two programs, for instance?
So I have changed up a little bit of how it used to be after going to a lot of the trainings through the Lansing Supreme Court Administrative Office and through MATCAP, which is Michigan Specific for Treatment Courts. So right now, we have one application, and so based on how they fill it out, I meet with them and do kind of a risk assessment to see if they're high risk, high need as far as criminology, their supports, that kind of thing. And then I'll do a little bit of just general questions to kind of see if they should be assessed by our substance use disorder clinical coordinator or our mental health clinical coordinator, and then they do a further evaluation and assessment. From there, the team looks at, you know, their legal history. Well, I guess to back up. Prior to that, we check their criminal history to make sure that they do not have specific violent offenses. So no criminal sexual conduct and no murder, attempted murder. Anything less than that, it's kind of situational to see, and then it's also up to the team, or the judge, the prosecutor, and the victim if there's a victim. So outside of that, the team kind of discusses like, how can we help this person? Does it seem like they would be appropriate? And have a conversation with them to make sure that they still want to, and then there's a number of other case-by-case things that can happen from there.
Very good. Commissioners, anybody have questions at this point? Commissioner Wise.
Just a couple questions. I know historically, you had more people in mental health court than in the drug court. Although there's a lot of correlation, a lot of the mental health participants have substance abuse problems. Is that changing now? Are there more people, or, I mean, it used to be, I think basically because you had more resources on the mental health court, more people got put into that one that maybe really would have made more sense to be in the drug court or now the hybrid court. Is that changing with what's happening here?
It's a little bit difficult for me to speak on that just because I wasn't here then to see some of those things. But I do know that some of the, in the statute, some of what makes somebody ineligible for drug court has changed. Before, there were certain things that, if it was certain charges related to substances, that they weren't, I guess, a high enough charge to be considered. So a little bit of that, I think, has changed. It is definitely very common for there to be what's called co-occurring, where somebody has mental health and substance use, and sometimes, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg. So looking at if they need that mental health help more than the substance use, then it would be mental health. Some people getting the substance use treatment, then the mental health kind of balances out on its own once they've gotten, started working on their recovery, then they're kind of able to maintain their mental health themselves without as much support. But we have a lot of those conversations of, okay, well, what else can we do to support this person, or what else? In all honesty, speaking from a personal perspective, I would like to be able to offer just as many services to both, participants in either one, and have them not miss out on opportunities just because they're in one over the other, if that makes sense.
How many participants right now do you have in each of these courts?
Right now, of course I didn't run those numbers. Right now, I wanna say we have 8 in mental health court and 7 in drug court.
My other question is, of course, when Judge Nolan came to personnel to have your position, which, I agree, it's a needed position. But of course, the opioid task force funded it for 2 years. Is there any money in the grant for administration? And I think Judge Nolan was under the impression he was hoping that in 2 years, that the grant would pay.
So, last year, a portion of my salary was able to be covered by the mental health court grant. This year, when I applied for them, I had tried to split it between both. And so then when we were awarded less than what I was hoping for, so they're trying to work out that budget. So right now, I wanna say that I have budgeted for about 3/4 of my salary. So I'm hoping in the future to be able to have that covered by the state grants, but I'm also looking into other grant opportunities as well.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Kemp.
Thank you. Just a question on the draft motion. The draft motion says it's for a period of October 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2026. So, is that correct? Is that?
Yeah, the grant fiscal years go from October 1 to September 30th, so it would be this October 1 to September 30th. So, are you asking because here we are in November?
Correct.
Okay, so they didn't give us the final amount until after October 1 either, because as we all know, there were things going on the government, the federal and state level as far as budgets and everything. So what it is though is it's a reimbursement grant, and so we can go back to October 1st and ask for reimbursement of things for the court. So quarterly, we submit for reimbursement from the grant, and so we can ask for things back from October 1 to, I can't remember I think January 1st, no, so December 30th. So October 1 to December 30th is the first quarter grant. And so even though we are looking to approve it now, we would still be able to ask for reimbursement back to the 1st of October.
So if we approve the grant, but the grant is not approved, we're on the hook back to October 1st. I'm not saying about the program, but that's a bit problematic, I think, for us to be finding that out now. Probably not directing that to you, directing that.
I'm just trying to think of what solution there could be if we don't have that amount yet either to present. Do you see what I mean?
I think the solution would be, it should have been October 1 in front of this board to at least be made aware of the situation. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I will move both 2A and 2B.
Support.
Support.
Okay, supported by Commissioner Wise. Any discussion on these 2 grants? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your explanation. You've helped educate us a bit.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Kayleen Handler here, who's going to be talking about the indigent defense.
Good morning, my name is Kayleen Handler. I am the Manager Defense Council Coordinator for Lapeer County. I've held that position since May of 2022. This is the request for the approval of the annual Michigan Indigent Defense grant funding, as well as the renewal to the Managed Assigned Council Administrative Services Agreement. So this is entirely funded by the state. It is a mandatory program that we have that's been in place since 2017. It is actually fully implemented as of last year. There were 8 standards that were put into place over that period of time to be able to put in place for indigent defense services to be able to meet the requirements of the Michigan Constitution for indigent defense. So we are fully implemented now across the state, and have a lot of things that we, respond to and report to the state on, all the things that, that Lapeer does, as well as everybody else across the state. So again, this is a fully funded mandatory program, but they fund it for us, so we're just asking for approval to the grant funding request that's in there, that was attached to your budget, or to the paperwork as well, and then for the administrator services agreement.
Any questions for Ms. Hammond? Commissioner Wise?
The local share, has that changed over the years?
It's been about the same. It's actually an autofill thing, so it's just automatically pumped in. I was just informed by Jackie that it actually went down about $300 this year. Don't know why.
Because I know originally it was based on what we had been paying when
Right.
we had our own
Right.
indigent defense.
Right, and so it's remained basically that same number for the, the 3 years that I've been putting these things together. It hasn't significantly changed, except for, as I said, Jackie just informed me this morning that it went down about $300 for.
I have to say, because I was skeptical, because knowing the state, I figured they would continue to increase the local share, if nothing else, just by cost of inflation.
Right, right, and it's basically stayed the same, so I guess we know, that's pretty much the same, and as you're right, as it was based, that number was based on what our reimbursement had been for the 3 years prior to when we had people who had court-appointed attorneys. They would be required to reimburse the county for a portion of that, or portion or all of that expense. And that was part of the money that we would recoup every year as a county, and unfortunately, it came back to bite us in our local share. Other counties or jurisdictions across the state didn't collect money. Their share is 0, which is completely unfair in my view, but there's nothing.
Do any defendants have to contribute toward their?
We do have, yes, there is a scale that if somebody is truly indigent, which, and that is a determination made by the state. If they are on public assistance, if they're getting food stamps or Medicaid, the state has already determined that they are indigent. If they're on disability, if they only receive Social Security, and have no other means, those people are individuals who you would deem that they really can't afford to hire an attorney. The differentiating factors, if not everybody gets one, not everybody gets a court-appointed attorney. If you can afford to hire an attorney, that's what you have to do. If you can't afford to hire one, then you fill out the financial form with the information on what your financial status is, how much money you make, what are your bills going out, and then a determination is made at the end of that month. Do you have enough money to pay for an attorney? If you can't afford an attorney, you have an attorney appointed to you, and you should, if you truly are indigent, you should not be trying to, repay a portion of that court-appointed attorney cost. If you don't have 2 nickels to rub together at the end of the month, we shouldn't be taking, the 4 pennies you had, because then you're creating more problems for individuals because they don't even have money to, make their ends meet. If an individual is low income and they are working and they do have some money coming in, they will be required to repay a portion of the court-appointed attorney costs. It isn't a lot, because again, if you have enough money, you're not getting a court-appointed attorney. So, yes, there are some individuals who are still required to repay a portion of the court-appointed attorney costs.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kemp.
Just, is this covering 100% of our indigent council cases
Yes.
now? Thank you.
Yes.
Any, Commissioner McMahon.
And that local share, just to be clear, does that come from our general budget? Or
Yes.
the general fund? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve 3 and 3A.
Okay, is it supported?
Support.
The administrator, I think, has something to add on
Yeah, I
this.
was just here for any questions about three, because I'm aware of this agreement, so I was just here for that. And also, if I have your permission, once this is done, to respond to why the grants don't come in advance of October 1st.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you for your explanation and presentation. So tell us about the grant.
Yeah, so we actually don't receive it until usually after October 1st. What we can offer the commissioners is to provide a request sheet that was sent to the state in advance of receiving it, and it's usually a 2-page item with the details. So we just want you to be aware of that.
Commissioner Kemp.
And I understand that. I guess my only point is if we are going to be entering in, if we have a standing grant, which I understand this is, and we have all expectations that it's gonna be approved, right? But if we are gonna be entering into a period of time where we are financially committing the county with an expectation, but without an answer for a period of time on a grant like this, I think those things need to come at least in front of the commission to be aware that we are committing ourselves.
That's totally fair, yeah.
That's all.
Okay. So, I recommend that we, once we know that we're engaging for that grant, even though we're scheduled in their annual, and they're expected, we want that information.
Yeah, I mean,
Around value.
I don't want to show my mistrust for state grants, and sometimes they're changing, ever-changing abilities, but that's kind of why I think it's,
Can I just offer something as well?
Yes.
That is, I mean, it's frustrating for me, because I'm the first, I've put the information together. Moses is the official, person that, is over all of this, but I put this stuff together, and the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission from, the big state thing, they didn't meet until October 21st to finally approve everything. They only meet every other month, and it is incredibly frustrating for everybody, and it's, not just Lapeer, it's everybody. They do, it is mandated that they do have to fund this, so it's just a matter, they were scrutinizing everybody's requests and budget more in depth than they had previously, because everything is now completely and fully implemented. And so they were, there were a lot of people, a lot of jurisdictions who had, they were, way over their budget amount that they had requested. They didn't use nearly as much as they had requested. So there were a lot of things that they were looking at this year, sending it back to people. We weren't in that case. Ours was right in where we basically needed to be. But that was part of the delay on everything. And we had the same delay last year. We were, it was mid-October before they had their next meeting to approve everything. So it's frustrating that we actually cross over October before we get our approvals, and then we get to November before we can get to you with everything.
Commissioner Kemp.
In 2017, when this was brought on, the discussion about unfunded mandates from the state was almost a every meeting occurrence. And I, when this came out, I think we were all very skeptical, and it's worked out, I think, very well. But I still think we have some of that reservations on, especially when we're looking at state budgets and not passing them, and what the actual end result's gonna be.
We've been burnt more than once on this
Yeah.
kind of thing, but hopefully they maintain their obligation.
Right.
It's not always been the case, particularly in local revenue sharing, which they have shorted us on a number of times. But anyway, anything else on this topic? Thank you for your clarification. Okay, we're going to go back to the Health Department, We have several items here.
Good morning again.
Would have been the case.
So the request that we have from Elder Law of Michigan, they contacted Andrea, and they requested if they could utilize some space at the Imlay City Senior Center for providing counseling services for our seniors. So that would include like estate planning, long-term care, any type of legal service that seniors may need. Also, what would be included in that is counseling service for Medicare. And just to help with understanding their benefits, what benefits they are eligible for, and what they wanted to do, we would have to provide a space, basically a private space for them to utilize while they're there meeting with some of our seniors. It's a one-on-one type, it would be one-on-one with the senior and one of their counselors. And we want to, they would provide $2,400 annually for this service. Sounds like a pretty good opportunity to help our seniors with some of the things that may be kind of challenging and when they need some help understanding what is eligible, what they're eligible for. I get it? Close?
So I just want you guys to know that previously we have always offered our facilities to these people, and now they want to pay us for it, so yay. So that's basically what it boils down to. They're gonna divide it into semi-annual payments. We would receive the first one up front, and then after the year's gone by, and they're going, they use the facilities throughout the year, then they provide us with that second payment. So, and eventually, I'm also going to bring you guys one for the Lapeer Center as well. We are working on that one with Legal Services of Eastern Michigan through the same grant for the SHIP program. So, and SHIP stands for State Insurance Assistance Program. And so they are working with us on having that available at both centers, so.
Do you find the citizens make good use of this program?
They do. We, at least on a weekly basis, we have a couple people that come in and the counselors come in, and for the most part, they make an appointment with the counselors and they come in. At the Lapeer Center, they use our library. At the Imlay Center, most of the time, they're back there using the poker room. So, and then they know that they can come and play poker, so then they come back. So, yeah, it's a really good program, and it really does help the seniors to maximize their use of the benefits that are available to them, the community resources. And in doing so, when they come to the center, we also offer them all the other things and the fact that they should come back and hang out with us because we're awesome. So.
Very good.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Wise.
so though it's a grant, it's really rent.
Yes.
They're renting, they're paying
Absolutely.
for the space that,
Absolutely, and it's always, we have always provided that
Yeah.
space, but now they want to pay us for it, and so we like that.
not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Chairman Howell?
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Zander.
So, with the Emily City facility, that's at least space from Emily City, is there any provision in that lease agreement that you can sublet?
Very good question.
We'll find out. I don't know.
I mean, we get a really good deal on the rent of that building, and I think it's a great service that we're going to provide, but let's make sure that we're not shooting ourselves in the foot over $2,400.
Any other questions for Commissioner McMahon?
So when they offer these legal services to the seniors, is that free of charge for them, or, okay?
Yeah,
So,
both Legal Services of Eastern Michigan and Elder Law of Michigan offer free services for the.
so they're giving far more than the money, and the
Yes.
value of their free services
Absolutely, and,
dramatically
and
more.
while they're there, it's, the purpose of it is to assist them mainly with Medicare benefits and how to navigate that system because it's very complicated. But while they're there, they also provide other legal assistance, trust wills, estate planning, all that, those types of things, they also do that.
How are they funded?
The Department of Health and Human Services.
Interesting, okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim or Andrea? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported by Commissioner Hagadon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your explanation.
Thank you.
Okay, the second item for the Health Department. Another grant agreement, environmental health.
So this is a renewal for our environmental health grant with Eagle. It's for basically services that we provide. It's $176,428. So what that basically does is it helps us provide services for our permitting of commercial wells that provide water to businesses and industries and schools that don't have municipal water available. That's one of the big costs associated with this program. So this is program specific for that type of well, not a residential well. And it is also for doing our campground and swimming pool permitting and inspection for the public campground, for the public swimming pool. And so we've been, so the grant is required to be signed electronically. And so I'm also requesting to be able to sign that grant electronically. So I'm requesting an authorization to accept the grant.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Nicely, supported by Commissioner Wise. Any other questions or discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Is this one of these programs, if we didn't do it, the state would come in and do it anyway?
They would say they would, but they wouldn't be able to do it, at least for quite a long time. So we also, this covers part of the cost. We also charge fees associated with our inspections and permitting of the swimming pools, campgrounds, these wells specifically. So
I mean, the state requires you to do it.
they do.
But
And
if you,
they-
but
this
if
is
you
upfront.
didn't do it, would they have to? And not that we want the state doing it, don't get me wrong.
No. They would probably contract with another county.
Okay.
A surrounding county, they would have some other county come into Lapeer and do our work. So, and they wouldn't do it the same way we would.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Is this fundamentally just taking water samples?
Well, there's a little bit more to it with that type of well. There's a lot of monitoring. So we require the operator to monitor for a large, different type of parameters such as volatile organic compounds, which includes gasoline, lead, copper, bacteria, nitrates, partial chemical, a lot of different things that they have to meet standards when they're providing water to the public. So it's monitoring all that, and then when they are positive for they get a hit on something, it requires a lot of interaction from us to make sure that that's resolved. And so usually that's the main part of this, is to make sure all that water is safe, and then when there is a problem, it gets resolved appropriately and timely.
So is the actual testing done in Lansing?
It can be, yes. We utilize the lab in Lansing. But there are also local labs that we can use for bacteria and nitrate, including the water treatment plant for bacteria, the Lapeer City Water Treatment Plant.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. And the third item, if you can give us some background explanation, that'd be helpful on this one.
So this is our immunization waiver software provider. The Department of Health and Human Services, they contracted recently with University of Michigan School of Public Health to provide a software education program that local health departments can use, us included, to provide education to parents for immunization waivers. It's required that they have an education, there's an education component to the waivers, so prior to them being able to opt out from the immunizations to go to school. So part of that, currently we're using a program, it's a very similar program, it's online. Parents can take a look at their convenience, and it's about a half hour, just gives them education about what immunizations are. And this is another program, we're paying $1,000 for that right now, annually. We're not, Alchemer is that program, there's a lot more services tied to it that we don't use, Tony's much more familiar with that. But this service is basically the same, it's the same platform, it doesn't cost the same.
Commissioner McMahon.
So I looked into this a little bit before the meeting, and it's there's a state statute that I view it as a re-education program for parents, a forced re-education program, trying to persuade parents that they should vaccinate their kids if they don't want to. I think that it's very heavy-handed just in concept. Now, I don't know, I haven't seen this program, and I would not be able to support this move. Usually if something's being offered for free, there's ideological or other types of strings attached. And so I would want to watch both of these programs myself before I could vote on them. And so I would actually move that we table this until we're able to actually review these programs, and because I think that this is something that's really important for our community.
I agree, it's definitely an important decision to make. We have to do it, we have to provide the education regardless. And I definitely understand your point. We do get a lot of waivers. We do have a lot of people going through the waiver program.
Mhm.
More than most communities.
I mean, I would be happy to, for just as a free service to the county, myself, I have a professional podcast set up. I could find out what the state statute is as far as what specifically needs to be informed, and I can give that information without any color and congratulate the parents for making what they believe is their most responsible choice. Without any color of trying to shame parents or manipulate psychologically the parents in any way. And I'm very sensitive about this because this is coming from the state that was forcing us to put masks over our faces and trying to manipulate us into getting shots in the first place during COVID. So,
And I've had those conversations with several parents recently about why are you trying to scare me
right.
to have my child vaccinated.
What's the feedback that you get from parents on the program that you have now?
So the program we have right now, we implemented April 1st, and it has gone so much more smoothly this year doing an online waiver because people can do it whatever time of day they want. It's convenient. They still have to come in and sign for the waiver. If they have questions, fine. Most don't. And it's 5 minutes when they come in. So it ends up being much more convenient for parents than how we were doing it face-to-face.
Commissioner Zender.
So with this programming, with the old one and with this new one, have you guys actually watched it yourselves?
I have.
Okay.
I have. And you guys can go on and do the one that we're currently using. If you go on the health department's website onto the immunization page, there's a QR code, you can go and do it. I just ask that if you do it on your own, that you put test, so that we aren't counting those in our numbers.
So that's the one previous to this?
And that one is the one that costs us some money. And so, we were really trying to save some money and do it with something that the state had put together.
So have you gone through the new one?
I have not gone through it beginning to end. I have gone through it and I've been involved with the development of it. So I've seen some of the modules that are within it.
Okay.
We sat through it. They provided us an orientation, and they took us through part of it, but not the whole thing. That was a couple weeks ago when they were offering this to us as an alternative.
Okay. That's a little concerning. I mean, me and Scott don't agree on a whole lot of things, but this is definitely one of them that, like I say, if it's trying to shame the parent into doing something, I understand the online thing, I think that's wonderful. But I think we need to compare these two and make sure that, you know, so would we have access to both of these?
You guys.
Me.
We can call the vendor and see what we can do. I'm sure that they'll be willing to do something.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to table this until.
I'll support that. Okay. Commissioner Kemp.
Just kind of a point of order. If you make a motion to table this, then it takes a motion to bring it back to the table. And we might be better off to move it to a specific date, giving everyone ample opportunity to go through the program, give the health department folks opportunity to go through the entire program and report back to us and have a discussion, so we all know when it is. And just point of order, it's a little cleaner.
Would that be agreeable to the maker of the motion?
So I guess my only concern is if we said, okay, we're gonna bring it back in whatever time frame, we don't know that you folks are gonna be able to get us.
Oh, we'll talk to them today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be,
That's not-
I'd be agreeable to that.
So what date are we looking at potentially? December meeting or beyond that, or what's?
How much time do you guys think you need?
I sometime in December.
Yeah, we could do it in December. We'd be able to.
So-
do it.
So your motion is to move to December committee to hold.
Sure,
Okay.
With authority?
with authority to act.
Support that.
All righty. Everybody clear on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you, and we look forward to getting.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I did take the opportunity to contact Emily City. While we were sitting here on the sublease issue, and Emily City has no issue with that.
Perfect,
So,
that's all I was concerned with.
yep.
Very good, that was very efficient.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the IT. Barracuda backup appliance, you'll have to tell us what that is exactly, or at least in my case.
Morning. That's the appliance or the device that we back up all of our servers within the county. So this is a renewal of the license that we have to pay yearly. You have to purchase the license or the device is essentially a brick. So it's an annual thing. This is just a renewal.
Okay. Mr. Administrator.
Yeah, so I want to point out, this is designated to go through our capital fund. So it originally went through our properties committee. So I just wanted to, that's why we kept it on the agenda, just so we could bring it back and say this was going to be capital. So we weren't supposed to bring it to the board.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Is it the same amount as last year, or has it gone up, down, sideways?
Yeah, I actually brought it up to them, and I'm looking at other solutions, and they dropped it about $1,000. So they did work with us and drop down $1,000. I do have plans to replace it next year, but, yeah, to a new solution that will save money over time, but with the impending license expiration, we had no other choice to renew it for the next year.
Just
Commissioner Gamble.
This is basically our firewall, right? Is that the scenario, or?
No, this.
No?
No, this backs up all the data and all our servers.
Oh, okay.
And then, so it backs it up locally here to our server room, and then it uploads it, a copy to the Therapeutics cloud. So we'll have a backup there as well.
Commissioner Nice.
How much was it last year?
It was about 17,500.
So they dropped it to 16,524. That's what you're saying,
Yes.
$8,000, that's where that came from.
Yes, yeah, I told them I was looking at our solutions, and they dropped it right away. I mean, it's only $1,000, which is more, but.
We'll take what we can get.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Kemp, supported by Commissioner Nyson. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
I'm here for a while, yeah.
I'll move 6A.
Support.
Which one did you move?
6A.
Oh, 6A, okay. Any discussion on 6A for the trainings? All in favor, say aye.
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 Very good. That was easy, moving on to B.
The separation policy, as we're looking to get things under control and have a systematic system on the HR side, this also relates to our retirement fund as well. We wanted to have a clear-cut separation policy for the county. And what we basically did here within this policy is we gave very clear steps if you were to retire, you would voluntarily terminate or involuntarily terminate, what those steps would be, and also how compensation is calculated. We also put in a sunset clause. Now, sunset clause is basically for any employees that are close to retirement now that were understanding that not based on policy, but based on practice, that when they would retire, that we would treat their payout as time served, which has been the practice in recent years. But we give them that opportunity, because some of them have calculated their retirement that way, so out of courtesy, we offer that to them with a sunset clause saying that after anyone that retires after December 31st of 2026 would now have to fall under this new separation policy.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is referred from policies and procedures. However, there's been some changes that we just received today. I would move this to the full board as an agenda item.
Okay.
Support.
Moved and supported to move it to the full board, agenda item. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Personnel referrals from the November 12 meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So this is our new compensation transfer policy for county. This always becomes, I don't want to say a point of contention, but sometimes it is and it becomes controversial, sometimes a little sloppy. Just how it's been done in the past and how we determine when people either come to the county as a new hire, they're a lateral transfer, they're transferring from a lower position to a higher paying position, or from a higher paying position to a lower paying position, how that's handled, how we calculate the steps, how we calculate what they're gonna be compensated. So within this policy, we determined to establish clear, consistent guidelines on how that's handled. We spent a lot of time coming up with every scenario that we've experienced and that's possible to take place. And we apply the procedure to that, or policy to that. I do want to point out that there is something that is different in the step movements request. If a potential employee, if there's a potential new hire candidate that we want to come in at a higher step, the new process would be is that department head would submit me in writing, usually by email, of course, saying we have this new candidate, they have all the qualifications, we're trying to fill this position, I'd like to hire them at a higher step. According to this policy, I would make that determination as the administrator. Before I make that final, I will email the 3 members of the personnel committee, let them know what my decision is and why. If 2 of the 3 say
Brad is in the room.
Voice from on high.
Okay, let's see what happens. In that case, maybe I should just not talk about this.
Just speak loudly over the top.
Okay, sure, okay. So, if we, if 2 of the 3 committee members say that they're okay with it, then my decision goes forward. If they say no, it goes back to personnel. Now, the question is, of course, why are we putting this in place? We were recently in a situation with the health department where they were trying to fill a position for the longest time. We finally got a candidate that was fully qualified for a position that no one, or very few people want to apply for, which is a jail nurse. We found this person, and they came from a certain salary base. We finally were able to fill it. So we said, okay, let's bring this to personnel and let's go through the process. While we're going through our process as a county, that candidate went somewhere else. And we've experienced this several times since I've been here. And so we want to do the fast track things in certain circumstances where we have a highly qualified candidate come in. I could always make a quicker decision on site using my own criteria and then tell the personnel committee what I'm about to decide, and they give me the thumbs up or thumbs down. It's kind of similar like in properties where we did the scope of work of some of the like ARPA contracts, where if it's at a certain amount, Brian or I could make a decision on the fly and just notify the rest of the properties committee, just make sure that they're okay with it. So that's what this policy is. This part of the policy. I want to point that out. It also gives me ability to make decisions in unique circumstances that come up related to personnel. Again, even in those unique circumstances, I have to notify the personnel committee of what's happening and why I'm making that decision, and to get their majority approval.
Very good. Anyway, is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Commissioner Zender, supported by Commissioner Nisley. Any further discussion? Commissioner Wise.
As a member of the Personnel Committee, when we met yesterday, I had some concern about giving the administrator the authority to do this. But I think the fact that he will then have to contact the three of us to make sure that the majority of us are okay with his decision, that satisfies my concern.
Yes, I think that was a good compromise in the sense we want to be nimble when we got a good employee that we want to bring on board, but we also want to have some oversight. So I think this is a good compromise to accomplish that. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, we are back to the sheriff again.
Yeah, I'm actually standing.
Are you going to make the presentation for the sheriff? Okay. We were all handed a list of the contracts between the county and the various townships that do contract for additional police protection.
Before we do this, Mr. Chairman, is the audio something that, should we recess for just a few minutes, just so members of the public can, it sounds like it's back on.
Yeah, I'll turn it back on, but I'll say
Is it something that you think you could fix if we just recess for 2 minutes?
I'll go on as we go on.
Okay,
I'm going through it as we talk.
okay, cool.
So I can't say this as open as the sheriff does if he was pitching for these agreements. However, these are the agreements we have with the township, where the township picks up 65% of the cost of their law enforcement members, and we pick up 35%. We were gonna push this to the next board meeting, and the sheriff advised me this morning that there was a time sensitivity issue on the township side, and we had to get it to the agenda, so that's why we put this in the last week.
This is a long-standing program, and it's one that, at least I personally think, is of huge benefit to the people of Lapeer County. It lets us get more bang for the buck in terms of police protection. It's an individual decision, obviously, as to what any township does. My particular township, Deerfield, contracts for 2 deputies, which is immensely helpful. A number of other townships elsewhere in the county do the same. But it's a classic cost-share agreement. There's no change in the percentage from what we did last year, right? Any questions for the administrator regarding this? Commissioner Wise?
Are there any changes in the numbers? Each township in the village of North Branch has got the same number of deputies they had before?
Don't know, I believe there was though. We were having a conversation, he and I cannot answer that question.
Commissioner Nyson?
At the Oregon Township Board meeting Tuesday evening, and Commissioner Hagedorn might, I don't know if you left before this, there was some discussion about the amount of deputies that they're using there, and they wanted to reduce it. I can't remember the exact reason why, and down to 1 from 3. Is that what you recall?
Well,
Brett?
if I go, I know that their problem, so right here in this, it says that they are gonna have one first shift officer. Their problem was that
Response time.
that their officer was not spending enough time in the township,
Right.
and that they were paying for the gas, and they requested that the officer fill up at Fix, but they were filling up at CMS for what they say, like 30 cents more a
Right,
gallon
right.
at CMS than it is at Fix. And so that was one of the things that they wanted to talk to the sheriff's department about.
I'm sorry, I walked in right at the.
No, Commissioner Nisley and I were at Oregon Township Tuesday night. They had a robust conversation about wanting to get with your department because they pay for an officer, and what that officer is telling them is that they don't spend a whole lot of time in that township. I don't know, I'm just repeating what was said during the meeting. And that they were also very, I don't know if upset's the right word, but maybe concerned that they had requested this officer who uses a township credit card to fill up the patrol car to fill up at Fix. And that this officer was not filling up at Fix, they were filling up at CMS at a much higher, price per gallon. Is that a fair?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. There was some discussion about an incident that happened, that the response time was as a result of just that very thing. And that was dropped, their concern with the issue with filling up. That was one of the issues that I recall.
So that's the first time I've heard this one. So I tried to meet with them as a new supervisor, obviously learning some of the ways and some of the things that we do, but, so I tried to meet with them 2 weeks ago. They were unable to meet, so I'm actually meeting with them on the 18th.
They did mention that.
Yep, so my understanding from what they passed on through our finance was that the gas thing, it's the first time I've heard that. So, that they were looking at going from 3 deputies to 1. And the reason behind that is because, kind of like Deerfield does too, and I don't remember exactly if they do it the same way, but, so Oregon does an assessment on taxes, but they do it an odd way where they just charge per home. It's a flat rate, and I can't remember what that number is, how they do it. But that wasn't covering their expenses for the law enforcement fees. So the question that came to me was, well, can we pass this now with 1 deputy? And then if we can, it sounds like they're probably gonna put some kind of an assessment or something in the ballot, is my understanding. I'll know more the 18th, to try to raise that to be able to cover the cost of the other 2 deputies. The problem with that is, they said, well, if we pass that, let's say in July, and it's kind of unfair for me to be saying this before the meeting, because this is coming secondhand to me through finance, is that then in July, if they get those rates raised and cover the cost, then they want their deputies back. That puts me in a very tough spot, because they're contractual, and obviously we do this to all our townships, it's a year contract, just like it's in front of you. So that discussion will probably come on the 18th. As you all know, our contracts are our babies. I mean, we bend over backwards for the township. Now, individual pieces that got brought up in there or reference an incident or gas, these are simple to fix. Like I said, I've never heard that till today. So the 18th, I'm sure we'll get a lot of that ironed out. That'll still give us time by the end of the year to be able to, for them to be able to take their contract in front of their board based on what their final decision is. I already have a backup plan for if Oregon goes from 3 to 1. I already have a plan for those 2 deputies that will ultimately help us and will fulfill even more promises that were made during the millage.
Sure. It sounds to me, though, it's a township issue that's got to get resolved.
100%.
We in Deerfield also levy a special assessment per home and per parcel, depending. And it doesn't necessarily pay the entire cost, so the rest comes out of the general fund. It's not rocket science. if they want a long-term increase in the assessment, they do need to go to the voters. But I don't think we can afford as a county to be in limbo for an extended period of time on these contracts.
I agree. No.
Commissioner Kemp?
Other than that, are there any projected, okay.
Commissioner Wise?
Just a couple of comments. In my district, Attica is the only one who has contract deputies.
Yep.
Lapeer Township, Metamora Township, own police departments, and Lapeer Township also has a per parcel, thing to fund their people. But anyway, I would tell you that Attica, every time I've been to one of their meetings, they are so pleased with the two deputies and the service that they get. Now, I can also tell you, going back to Oregon, and this is back the prior sheriff, they were unhappy with one of the deputies that was assigned to Oregon. And so the sheriff did switch out.
And to be honest with you, I've done that too. And
Okay.
to be honest with you, I've done it twice for Oregon.
Okay.
So that they've needed or wanted somebody there, certain people, like I said, we do everything we can for the, and it's ultimately, like we tell them, it's their police department. Granted, they're deputies and they work for here, but, it's their police department. But I've done, I can say in the last year, I've had to do 2 switches at Oregon. So, and we, like I said, we try to make sure people are happy, but that's the only place we've had a.
That's the one I remember from back in my days.
Very true, very true.
Thank you.
Just
Commissioner
a
Kemp.
small inside joke for the sheriff and probably Dial in the room. Are any of the municipalities currently suing us? Okay, good.
Commissioner Zand?
So with these contracts, and obviously, a lot of these are very long-standing, that sort of thing. So what happens if another municipality wants to join in on this?
I guess that's kind of a conversation between you guys first. I think it's probably something we should have. Going back to the previous board, and this has changed so many times, it's even mine on here. Back then, there was when I first came in, we allowed, that's when North Branch had, right before I came in. So back, and Ian could probably give a way better explanation, but it was basically the commissioner at that point wanted to put a cap on it, which we were at 18, was what the cap was at that point. Then we had some other things that kind of happened that we added. We ended up adding Emory Township that wanted it. They were just a half of a deputy, 20 hours a week. So I don't know if there was actually a ruling back then, or you guys made the decision to cap it because we changed that.
It went back and forth so many
It did.
times,
It was,
yeah.
and it was. So I think that's probably ultimately, and I'd love to be in on that comment. I think that's something between you guys as into what you'd want to do. What our standing actually, we talk to everybody. I've had other agencies now that have kind of started conversations at different times to see if we could add. I don't give definitive answers because ultimately that would be your decision. So it's a possibility. I mean, I guess I just returned it right back to you.
A true politician.
Yes. Thank you for that.
So this whole concept and program came out of the old COPS grants, if you remember those, where they paid, what was it originally, 75%, municipality paid 25%, and then it was a sliding scale as time went by. And what happened was, at the end, if you had taken advantage of these COPS grants, if the size of your department went down, you had to repay those. So we, as a community, were in a situation where we had a number of officers out there that if we didn't find a way to fund those municipalities were going to be on the hook to repay those. It sounded like a great deal at the beginning, had a little hook at the end. And that's when these, through the former sheriff, that's when these contracts came about and why they came about. And that's why the county originally started funding 25% those contracts, and then after the millage, it went to 35%. But specifically to your question, Mr. Zender, that has always been the $25,000 question. Do we put a hard cap on these, plus the rate of salary increases? Or do we, so then you'd have to come up with let's say hypothetically there were 5 municipalities that wanted new deputies. Then do you come up with a system where you fund each municipality 1, and then each municipality 2, and each municipality 3 until you reach that cap? Do you just fund them all? Certainly, there's some need to be fair and equitable across the board to all the taxpayers when it comes to this. I don't know that we've really had that big. We've had it on 1 or 2 deputies, which was generally all we did was increase the budget for those 1 or 2 deputies. And sometimes we've had deputies go down, and had to absorb them back into the general road patrol, which is a whole another discussion, especially around 2008. So that it's never really been, and I think it's fair to say, it's never really been definitively defined. It's been kind of a fluid decision based on the yearly, requests.
And that's completely true in the COPS grants when it started. And at the end of 4 years with the COP grants, you had to pay in full. So that was back in the day. And then obviously with the recession, there were a million pieces with that. But it's a tough question because you're already supplying 18 contract deputies. So how do you then tell another township that wants to come in, well, we'll do it for them, even though they've been in it forever since the beginning? Those are conversations I think we have, but I agree with Commissioner Kemp. We've never really sat down and say, okay, we are going to have an answer at the end of this. And even with the comments of whatever it was of not being in the area, that's why the contracts were built when Ron did them, or Sheriff Kaufman did them before, that's why the county was doing the 25%, strictly because if we had something crazy somewhere, Elmont, for example, we could have those deputies 25% of the time doing other things. I can guarantee you, without a question, the county doesn't get 25% of, they're in that township way more than that. We make sure that they stay in there. If it's something crazy, they get pulled out, but we don't pull them out of there for taking a short call, just a BS call in Burnside.
So in other words, you're saying that it's probably closer to 90% or whatever number you want to use,
Yes.
in that municipality, and
Stay in that
5 or 10%
jurisdiction.
or 15%
Sure.
in the county.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Kemp.
Also to that question, and I think kudos to the sheriff. He's enacted policies since he's come into his position that have ensured that those deputies can be in those townships much longer than some of the policies prior to him coming into office. Not that one's wrong or one's right, but Sheriff Caliquin wanted those deputies to all report at the beginning of the shift at the sheriff's department and all report at the end of the shift at the sheriff's department. And maybe that was the right thing to do then. I'm not questioning that. But since Scott's come in, that's not the typical case. So it puts those people, those deputies in those jurisdictions many more hours than it used to. And the 25% did play into that prior too.
Well, and I think that goes by specific townships or municipalities as to where they start and where they finish.
A lot of
They're
times
all,
it's based
they're all
on the
kind of
county.
different,
They
isn't
are.
it?
No, that's true. And to be honest with you, a lot of it's based in, kind of like you said, it's really based on the township, what they want. Mayfield just put up that beautiful building for law enforcement and Lapeer County EMS. They've always went to Mayfield and reported Mayfield because they had an office in there, and that's what Mayfield wanted. North Branch, same thing there. It just kind of depends. Elba is close to us, so a lot of they have offices, but it's kind of what the township wants, we just adapt to. I mean, it's their police department, basically.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Wise.
I guess I would just make one comment when you talk about taking people out of the township. I mean, for those of us, and I live in Metamora, we have our own police department. But Metamora and Dryden, I mean, lots of times, I mean, if something's going on in Dryden, the Metamora officer goes to back him up, and vice versa. And nobody says, well, what's he doing outside of our township? I mean, it's the family thing you were talking about before, that when there's something that needs, people don't care about where the boundaries are. And as taxpayers in Metamora, we certainly appreciate the fact that it works both ways.
We're really blessed in this county.
We got a motion, so we can move these on to the full
Mr.
board
Chairman, I'll
meeting.
make the motion.
Supported by Commissioner Hagadon. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you much.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Okay. Commissioner McMahon had an item he wants added to the agenda regarding the prosecutor's office, so you can explain what you've got in mind.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think that we're aware of the backstory. Moses, would you be willing to kind of share, to tell the story about how we got to this place with the prosecutor and what he's been asking us to do?
I'm afraid to talk into this. So the prosecutor raised concern to us and presented a legal opinion that he, once the budget is given to his department as an elected official, that he does not need direct approval from the county administrator / controller. We had discussions, he and I, but they were productive in the sense we disagreed as much going in as we did when we left the meeting. The understanding that I gave him, or my position, was that I'm not necessarily approving or reapproving something that was already approved by the Board of Commissioners when the budget was given to the prosecutor's office. I'm generally in a position for quality control and oversight and making sure that whatever expenditure he has is within the budget that was approved by the commissioners. He still is at the position that once he's given a budget, really the questions shouldn't be raised by me as to whether, or it should be checked whether or not something is within the budget range, so to speak. He then presented a case and asked me if I would give that into our corporate counsel. I want to also point out our corporate counsel did not agree with the first legal opinion he submitted and said that the authority to review expenditures and to approve expenditures or clear expenditures are ultimately in the power of the Board of Commissioners in a given county. He then submitted another case, not another case, but now a case where he felt strengthened his position. I brought out to corporate counsel. Corporate counsel again said that that case did not add any merit or change their legal opinion when it came to what the prosecutor said. So the prosecutor made the request to me to pass on to the board, which I've spoken to, he would say, what about, 6 of you have already talked about this, that he recommended an attorney who's an expert, as he describes in this issue, and asked that the county pay for that, he called it a second opinion. So that's where we are with that now.
And really, I mean, that's not a second opinion, he wants us to hear his opinion. I mean, that's, because he was,
That's a fair.
because he was saying, I want you to pay for a second opinion from an attorney that I select.
That's how I understood it, yes.
Right. And, yeah, so, to me, I just from, my interest in bringing this to the agenda is really to provide transparency to the public about this, inner debate, which I think, I mean, just as an observer, representing my constituents, it appears to me that he's hiding something. And, why is there such pushback? Why there's this control game that's going on over you know, he doesn't want to allow you to have the oversight on our behalf and really on the taxpayers' behalf over his expenses as you do over every other department. And to me, that's a big red flag. And the reason why I asked that this be on, in addition to being just providing transparency to the public about this, because this is an elected department head that doesn't want oversight over his budget. And at the same time, you know, as we began the budgeting process, he came to us trying to make a weird claim that we were shorting him money, and or that the county was not fully funding what he thought he needed to be funded, and which was it wasn't true. I mean, we were doing exactly what the state required of us and what we, you know, what was agreed. And then he wrote the language for the and he himself wrote the language for the millage that he received, and there's some, you know, there's a little bit of gray area in how the language was written there, and he was exploiting that, or attempting to, or threatening to in some way, and just in order to try to get his way. And I don't know if he is hiding something. I want to assume the best in him, but there's something going on there, and I just think that we owe it to our constituents, to the taxpayers, to do an audit and find out what's going on there of that department. So that's my view. I don't know if I'm maybe the absolute minority on this, but I think that, you know, all I want is transparency.
Commissioner Sanders.
So with the prosecutor, and myself and Commissioner Kemp and our county administrator have actually had a meeting regarding this with our prosecutor. I think there's a difference of opinion. I am not in favor of getting another opinion from, we had our corporate counsel look at it. I think we're good. I think it ends there. If he chooses to do something else, that's on him. So I think an audit isn't necessary. We know through finance what checks are being cut and all that sort of stuff. So at this point, I think we just let sleeping dogs lie, and if it becomes a problem, we can go whatever direction we need to at that point. That's my opinion on it.
Any other commissioners have a comment they wish to make on this one? Commissioner Kemp.
Well, I guess a couple of things. First off, we already do an audit on the entire county every year, independent. It's very thorough. You get a copy of it. Everything's in there. As Mr. Zender said, we did meet with the prosecutor. I think that we have a legitimate difference of opinion. I think it's very dangerous when people start speculating, and there's an old saying, because you don't know doesn't mean you know. So because we have a difference of opinion with the prosecutor, by no means, in my opinion, does that mean that there's something going on in the prosecutor's office. He's trying to cover up something. That's absurd, in my opinion. And the audit doesn't show it, right? So while we have a difference of opinion, I think that it's probably safe to say that this board is probably unified in their opinion on this side of this discussion, and that is that we have the ability to put in checks and balances, to double check expenditures by any county department at any level we want to. And I think that's very plain and simple. If the prosecutor doesn't agree with that, which I know he doesn't, then there are directions he can go with that if he so chooses. That's his choice. But you know, I would be it troubles me to say that if a department head, especially elected official department head, and this board disagree, that all of the sudden, we're going to go back and assume that they're hiding something or covering something up and going to do some sort of independent forensic audit on their department. I think that's very troubling waters and is not called for. So I agree with Mr. Zender. I think we have been clear, and Moses has been clear on the board's position, and the ball's kind of in the prosecutor's court if he so chooses to take the next step. It's that simple.
Any other commissioners wish to comment?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just want to respond on the audit. I mean, when the auditor was here just a few months ago, he said very clearly that this is not a forensic audit. He's not looking for, where there might be money that's misapplied, or even if there's, criminal intent, or and then I'm not making that allegation whatsoever, but that's what he said about the audit, that this is not a forensic audit that's going to identify where there's money that's being misspent, or where there are, something that would be found in a forensic audit. And so, and I'm totally willing to say, okay, yeah, ball's in your court, Mr. Prosecutor, and let's see what happens. My main concern is I just wanted to bring this out and just be transparent about, and not have this something that was just in our internal emails. So.
And just to be clear, and they do say that, the one thing I hate about auditors is they say everything to totally alleviate themselves out of any sort of,
Sure.
But I think, in fact, in our county, history would show that it does show any sort of anomalies. And history would show, quite frankly, in the prosecutor's office. And so I think that is there. I think, the reason, at least in my book, and everybody probably has their own reasons, in my book, the reason that we want the administrator to review larger expenditures is because we hire an administrator, at least we always have, that I think has a fiscally conservative outlook. And we want to make sure that the county is continuing in that direction, right? That's my own personal opinion. That's why I want the administrator to overlook those larger expenditures, so.
Right, very good. This has been a healthy discussion. I think the important point is that we are of unanimous opinion as commissioners. We are primarily the budgeting entity. It is our responsibility to make sure that money in the county is spent appropriately in the prosecutor's office and in every other department. So I think you have a unified direction from the commissioners that we want you to hold to that position. We do want the review. We do want the accountability. I think for right now, there's no need for an immediate motion, but I think the discussion kind of brings home the point that we are united on that direction. So unless there's anything further, we'll move on. Thank you. Next, we're at the second public time. This is the general public time for whatever topics anybody wishes to address the board with.
Good morning, gentlemen. I have some papers here, and one of them deals with the residence of a commissioner. And I have been looking for, and I've asked at the clerk's office for a current address for a commissioner. And I was told the directory is in process of being redone. No matter what search service I go to, including as of November 1st of this year, I went to White Pages and looked. Now, we've got a commissioner, his only address that I can find is 3756 Reamer Road. That's what comes up. And if that's true, that means he's living out of his district. That's for you guys to look at. Also, I have found an article about this commissioner, and you should all feel very privileged because you're sitting with a guru. This gentleman has supposedly been part of a cult after they tried to poison people in the state of Oregon. He is reported to have tried to start his own cult in Arizona, and I have the post out where he's asking for funding and contributions to help his $400 million project. There is a list of places, OPC Marketing, which was part of Diamond Resorts, which was reprimanded several times for locking people in to sell timeshares. One of his podcasts was Mission I Am. Another one is Beyond Your Best, Cosmic Keiko. And in this interview that this reporter did with him, and the information he collected, he ran a podcast. It was an energy transmission podcast where you could buy monthly, single sessions, quarterly, yearly. And if you want to audit somebody, maybe somebody should take a long look at Mr. McMahon. He got mad at me because I said I was tired of people making their statements as commissioners based on their religious beliefs. And in this report, he's quoted as saying that there is no truth in the church and in Christianity. Now, if all this stuff is true, and it apparently was gleaned from either interviews or from statements he made during his wonderful podcasts, maybe you guys should audit him. I have given the information to Moses. I've had a couple of politicians ask me just what this guy is doing for a living, and no, I will not give up people that ask me that. But if you start reading and digging, a lot of it is GoFundMe sources. In 24, while he was running for election here, he started a merchandising business for Bigger Truth. And that, like all the rest of it, lasted 6 months, a year, and is apparently no longer in existence. But if you start digging, there's a lot of GoFundMe crap attached to it. If anybody wants to read it, if anybody wants the web addresses, I will be glad to provide them. Moses has them. And there was a podcast by our person that runs the library board. And somebody forwarded it to me.
Mr. Chairman, he's way over time.
Is the 3 minutes expired? Okay. I didn't hear the bell ring. Usually there's a bell that rings.
That's fine. Thank you for your time.
Yep. Okay. Next.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Rhonda Lohr from Marathon Township. This morning, I would like to comment on your upcoming appointment of a trustee to the library board. As everyone knows, business as usual has been upended by the local book banners who currently hold a 4-seat majority on the board. Beginning their ascent from these very chambers nearly 3 years ago, Tom Coleman and Truman Mast announced their intent to ban books they found religiously objectionable, beginning with Genderqueer, a book neither commissioner had read. From there, Truman Mast, John Miller, Peggy Brodsky, and John DeAngelis all tried to have books banned from the LDL. As well as targeting books, most with LGBTQ+ content, the banners went after staff. Director Amy Churchill was consistently harassed over the course of 2023 until she resigned. Her successor, Danielle Brigatti, was harassed for 7 months until she resigned in March of 2024. The 3 department heads of the LDL resigned in June and August of 2025. An administrative employee has resigned. Clearly, the book banners have made working at the LDL an unpleasant experience. Will we get a new director? John DeAngelis told the Lapeer County Press there were 70 interested applicants. Will we find even one willing to stay? now that the board majority has declared their intention to lead the American Library Association and the Michigan Library Association, and they have a national reputation for being book banners and harassers of staff, it's hard to see a professional library director wanting to have a Lapeer directorship on their resume, much less face the storm in person. The current board majority does not represent the patrons who use the LDL or the Lapeer County public in general. As the last batch of sound-off letters about partisanship on public boards indicates, most people do not support boards with political agendas. It is my opinion that the public wants boards to support the institutions they represent, and that these institutions support the public they serve. Unfortunately, this fight over the heart and soul of the LDL is far from over. We are stuck with the book banning majority for the immediate future. So I'm asking this body here today, this body from which this very dark chapter in the history of the LDL was launched 3 years ago, to not make it worse. Please vote for an LDL supporter, not an LDL censor for the LDL board. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Ed Pila, Metamora Township. I am in application for library board, and I'm a proud veteran. A little bit about me: proud veteran of the United States Army and retired police officer out of Dearborn Heights in Wayne County, Michigan. I have a bachelor's of arts from Spring Arbor University. I've written a book about post-traumatic stress related to veterans, police officers, and basically anyone that's been through trauma. And police officers and veterans are not the only ones that go through trauma. If you know of anyone that that's been in a car crash or an accident or a farm accident, that's all related to post-traumatic stress. So I wrote a book about that because I believe in books. I believe books are education, and books help people, not just in post-traumatic stress, but in everything in life. I'm 62 years old. I go back in my life, and I look at every time I've learned something, and it's because I've picked up a book. So I fully believe in books, and I would love to be involved on the library board. I'm also seeking chaplaincy with police departments in the area, with the sheriff's department and local city, township police departments. It's a volunteer position because, as we've seen in Elmont, police officers go through critical incidents. And when they go through critical incidents, they look for mental health, spiritual health, and emotional support. So I'm seeking that here in Lapeer County to be involved and also assisting as much as I can in that way. Other than that, that's all I have for you. And thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you for coming forward and introducing yourself.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak this morning?
Mark Wynn, Marathon Township. Thanks for lack of a better term, tabling the vaccine data that they want us send to U of M. I think that information needs to stay in the county. I believe state law, could be federal law, that any education that needs to be done is passive. Passive to me means a parent shouldn't have to go to the health department and get re-education camp. Passive means mail them something, whatever. I'm disappointed that any information, private information of children that are, their parents and the doctor can figure it out what they want to do for that kid. 1963, something happened to me. I got a vaccine shot. I think I've been dealing with the problem ever since. This issue is pretty important to me. I don't think our nanny state should be involved in any of it.
I think our schools are made to rat out to the health department, that for your child to go to public school, that they browbeat these people into giving these kids these shots that they don't need. And I think that's the way the system works right now, and I wonder why we have so many parents wanting to homeschool. I think it's all related. Need to get rid of this nanny state, nanny county. It's none of their business. I mean, you think these children are vermin? Dogs? I don't even know if dogs need a vaccine. I think pharma's corrupt. I think it's all corrupt. I think society made it for a real long time before vaccines showed up on the scene. And I think sometimes they do more harm than good. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to address the commission this morning? Okay. Seeing none, thank you. I would ask the administration if we'd be sure and have an audible bell or something so that I can know when the 3 minutes runs, because Commissioner McMahon made a valid point that we need to be equal-handed in how we administer that. I wasn't aware that we had exceeded the 3. Okay, we are at the administrator or CFO point in the agenda. Is there anything additional either of you have to say? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask the CFO
Please do.
a question? Earlier in the meeting, we discussed the Indigent Council and we approved the Indigent Council grant funding. And I asked a question about if this covered 100% of our Indigent Council, and I did that because when I saw the numbers, it didn't seem like that would do that. Going through the check registry, it looks like we have $31,053.05 in checks written to Indigent Council. I guess I'm confused. Can you, or do we need, and if we need to look into it more to get that question clarified, I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot.
I guess I don't, what is the question yet? 'Cause
So
it does cover the grant.
the grant was $2,000 and change a week, right?
Oh, no, that's not the grant, that is, Kayleen's, her fee to administer the grant. The grant is about 1.2 million, I believe.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that's, the grant's covering these
Yes.
fees. So do you know, maybe this might be more of a question for the courts, are these being assigned by the judges, or are they being assigned by Kayleen? Is that in the scope of her? Do you know that, or?
Is which attorney gets
Yeah,
assigned to
yeah,
it?
who's-
I do believe Kayleen, I was like, I think they have like a schedule or something on who.
So we still have a list that we're going through?
I do believe so.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Anything else, the administrator or the CFO? Okay. We'll go to commissioner comments. I'll start here on my right with Commissioner Hagedorn.
I have nothing today.
Okay, appreciate the brevity. Commissioner Zender.
Just really prayers for the family of the business in Elmont that lost one of their own. Absolutely an atrocious situation that should never happen. And like I said, just prayers to that family. Can not even imagine what they're going through. Other than that, the vaccine thing, I mean, that's been a huge issue for a very, very long time. And I would like to personally look at both of those educational pieces. My kids which are very much adults now, they were not vaccinated. We had a doctor in the family, and if you don't think we caught heat over that, and they'd both been extremely healthy, all through school and all that, but, again, it's personal choice, and educating somebody on something is wonderful, and then they can make their decision accordingly. So, that's all I have.
Very good. Commissioner McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I do want to address what was said about me because I think it's important. There is an article that was written by a man named Brian Ferentz who, in about 2 months ago in Arizona, he was the equivalent of a precinct delegate in the Republican Party in the largest legislative district in the state of Arizona, and he was his legislative district took the very extraordinary step of voting to remove him as a precinct delegate because he is a notorious liar. And he was actually removed by a vote of, I'm spitballing, but there were only 2 votes on his side out of 130 to 150 votes. So it was almost unanimous vote by the people that know him to remove him because he is a notorious liar. And that said, not everything in his story was a lie. And it is true that some was taken from my testimony that I gave in Christ, where I freely and continue to freely share the sins of my past and how I denied Christ. Absolutely, I denied Christ for most of my life. I was looking everywhere but to the true God of the Bible for my justification, and I admitted that very freely. There is one absolute lie in that piece, and that is that I had any involvement whatsoever with a cult called the Rajneesh cult or the Osho cult that was in Oregon 15 years before I ever got involved with New Age. And so it is an absolute lie. In fact, he injected that lie because I brought up that cult as an example of the danger of cults. I was involved in a cult about 20 years ago, in a New Age cult, and it was a self-improvement cult called To Self-Mastery, and you're welcome to look that up, Ken. The amazing thing about that is that after I left that cult, and I was rescued from it by my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I have it is through the Bible and through study of the Bible that I have come to know the one true God, and I give him all the thanks and the glory for that, and so he's given me a life free of shame. So I have nothing at all to hide. I am absolutely I boast only in Christ, and I boast in him frequently, and so there is absolutely no consistency there. The address that you named there, that Reamer Road address, is a house that I sold a few years ago. You can look up anybody and find past addresses, so I'm not sure why that's part of your conspiracy theory. And my address is listed. You can find it on the county, in county filings. So that is my address. That is where I live. And you're welcome to come and knock on my door, and we can have a conversation about these things, Ken. So I think that, that's and I think that it's also valuable to look at, well, why was that piece written about me? And it's because of the work that I do in journalism that I've been doing for the last 2 years, that started with exposing a gentleman named Mike Labadie, who had self-professed ties to the intelligence community and had taken control over the Michigan Republican Party through Christina Caramo. And I painstakingly provide evidence for every claim that I make on my website, biggertruthmedia.com. I'm paid by my subscribers. It's not much, but it's enough to get by. And this is something that I do because I have a calling to do it. So, I really truly have nothing at all to hide. And I've faced death threats. I've faced slander. I've faced hatred. I've had General Flynn, who's one of the people that's involved in this thing that I expose, call me all kinds of names publicly in front of millions of people. I've had Roger Stone say that I'm a piece of human garbage and I deserve that the 5 years in prison that was wrongfully threatened against me by the special prosecutor that you so gleefully covered, Ken. And there truly is nothing at all to hide here, and I'm happy to talk to you or to anyone about my past. It's something that I'm very happy to talk about because I'm dead to it. It's only by the blood and resurrection of Jesus Christ that he has given me the complete and total atonement for my sins, and counted me his. And it's an amazing thing, so praise him. So, and thank you for the opportunity to speak about that by bringing that up.
Thank you. Commissioner Nislet?
Yeah, the vaccines, I agree. We need to see a little more transparency on what really is being proposed here. I agree. I look forward to seeing that information, and I don't think that any parent should be re-educated by anybody. Having a conversation, providing information is one thing, but actually going through a process like that, if that's indeed what this entails, I think is egregious, and I hope that's not the case. So I look forward to seeing that information when it comes available. I guess if you repeat a lie enough, you start believing it yourself, and you start believing everybody else believes it too. This whole thing about banning books just gets under my skin. We're not banning books. Nobody's banning books. We're restricting books. There's a difference between ban and a restriction. Keep adult material, this nefarious material that's being provided to any kid that walks into that public or that district library, and a lot of the other libraries in this country too, out of the hands of young children without their parents' knowledge or consent. That's my understanding of what's being asked for at the library. Nothing else. We're not banning books, and you can shake your head till the cows come home, but nobody's banning books. And you talk to anybody on the library board currently, and they'll tell you the same thing except one or two. So I just leave it at that, because it's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie, and it needs to stop. We finally got through this budget process here, and we saved the taxpayers $1.5 trillion. We're still $38.2 trillion in fiscal operating debt as of this morning, just a little shy of that by a few $1 million. It's not a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. We eliminated a lot of things that were trying to be shoved down our throats with this $1.5 trillion, with $400 billion of that was going to go to illegal immigrants, to benefit these illegal immigrants on Medicare, or Medicaid rather, and through the WIC and the SNAP programs. And $500 million to PBS and NPR. There's a lot of other nefarious things, and I just mentioned a couple of them. $3 million for circumcisions and vasectomies in Zambia, wherever that is. For $833,000 for transgender programs in Nepal. LGBTQ programs in Western Balkans and Uganda, $4.2 million. It's just a lot of money, so I'm glad we were able to get this budget passed. My son's an air traffic controller. He hasn't been paid in a month, and so I'm glad to see the employees in our military get back to work and start getting their paychecks, which they're so rightfully entitled to and deserve to have. The only other two things I want to mention have to do more with our community here is the animal control building. The construction process is coming along pretty well. We are told that we're probably looking at getting that building open here before Christmas. I think we're still on track to have that happen, and that'll be a good thing. So, we had some problems along the way that delayed it maybe about 30 days with the helical piers and some of the soil unsuitable soil conditions that were out there that were discovered in the process of digging foundations. Trudowski Park, Commissioner McMahon and I went out with Moses and the JT and Julian, and met with the general contractor, which was Frank Rewald, and to talk about what's going on with Trudowski Park. It was supposed to open this spring. Obviously, it didn't happen. And the concern was, and the concern is, and probably still is today, maybe to a lesser degree, is dealing with a pool contractor. That I think we finally got the pool contractor on board. The equipment actually was sent out, I believe all of it. I think there was an audit that was going to happen to make sure that everything was sent out, and sweeten the pot a little bit for the subcontractor, which we're about to call their bond on this, you know, to get them into compliance and get this work done here, because if they were gonna get the concrete work out there done at least here this fall, we would lose next summer too. So, not saying that that's still not at risk right now, pending the outcome of the pool. You know, we're running into winter conditions, and, you know, that gets expensive when you start dipping in to the contingencies to pay for winter conditions on a project like that. It's huge. So, I sure hope we can get that park open here in June of next year, like, everybody thinks that we'll be able to do. I think it's possible. But we also here not too long ago thought we'd open it in June of this year, and that didn't happen. So, that's where we're at with that, and that's all I have to say today. Thanks for coming out.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kemp.
The only thing I have is that next Thursday, I won't be here. I have a prior commitment in Grand Rapids on a board that statewide board I serve on. So, the only thing I have.
We appreciate the heads up. Commissioner Wise.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm gonna pass on any making comments this morning.
Okay. I have just a couple of comments, which I will restrict to county issues. This last week, we had a meeting of our material management planning group here in Lapeer County. That's the four-county group that's working on a recycling program. We're doing it jointly because that maximizes the revenue to the county and our ability to get the job done. I was very pleased. We had a number of folks here who are in the business, North Lapeer Recycling, a couple others that actually do that kind of work, as well as interested citizens that have been volunteers in the past. So I'm very encouraged. It was a good meeting. We're probably looking at early spring by the time that plan gets done, and then we can actually proceed to develop the program. One of the things that I'm most proud of on this county commission is serving as your representative on the Veterans Services Committee. I'm a very proud veteran, and I enjoy being of service to my fellow veterans in the county. We had our monthly meeting yesterday morning, working on assistance to those veterans in the county who are in financial need. And it's been magnified this year, partly because of this unnecessary shutdown of the federal government and the partial shutdown at the state level. Plus winter coming on makes more of a need. And I want to give a shout out to a group in North Branch, the Deshetsky family, who own the company Production Threaded Parts, have for over 3 decades done a major benefit for the veterans on Veterans Day. Former Commissioner Henning was there this week. I was there. We probably had 100 and some veterans present. Not only they put on a patriotic program, they provide a steak dinner to everybody that shows up, and they go around the room and give every veteran a chance to talk a little bit about their unique experience, whether it was in Vietnam, Afghanistan, Korea, wherever. It's a great program, and the Deshetsky family deserves great credit for doing this kind of thing. So that's my report, and I'm looking for a last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Moved by Zender, supported by Hagedorn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you, folks.